Something, first of all, it's not the most serious of talks. It's not something I really expect people to hear and go, oh, that guy's got a really good idea, I'm going to go and do that. But it's something, it's more of a sort of thought experiment kind of talk. Because, yeah, I want to talk about sort of the future of the written game review. And if I can very briefly dip my toe into that quagmire of confusion that is #GamerGate. No, it's alright, calm down, it's fine. No, okay, so it's mainly on the work that Jenny Goodchild's done in talking to people, talking to a lot of the game ethics and GamerGate people about the type of reviews they want. So she actually went and spoke to a lot of people, got them to give their opinions to see what kind of reviews they were looking for if they wanted, to change the way the game industry is writing about things. Now, so kind of having read through a lot of the things, it looks like most of the answers are, we want objective game reviews which tell you how good a game is. So, pretty much along the lines of, we want to know if the graphics are good and if it runs smoothly on my computer. I'm going to say I'm a game reviewer, so it's not great. Basically, I don't like to completely dismiss someone's point of view, but that, I think, fundamentally misunderstands what game reviews are. And I think a lot of people in this room agree with me, especially when I said #GamerGate, and I got from the room. So basically, to me, the point is to convey to a person, like the essence of a review is to convey to whether or not to the person whether or not it's worth them playing it. Now, it doesn't matter if it's a free game; it's not money-based. It's whether or not they will play the game and get a rewarding experience out of that game. So there are lots of things that can do that. So it could be a beautiful presentation, it could be involving mechanics or an engaging story, or a combination of the lot. Like, there are loads of different things that make a game worthwhile or a bit crap. So whether or not it's the latest AAA showcase shoot man's thing, or whether it's a pretentious indie art piece, people are going to like it, people are not like it. Like, I don't like AAA shooters, but I've got to say Titanfall's multiplayer is really, really fun, because it's just a really tightly designed piece of game, and you play it, and you even if you're not really that into it, you will find yourself at the end of it, saying, get him. And if you're that involved in a game, that's got to be doing something right? One excellent aspect can make a game that you wouldn't classically like good. In the same way, a single awful thing can make a game that you classically would like really, really bad. This is something that I think a lot of people in that discussion didn't really get, is that one bad aspect can ruin an entire game. There's something that really boiled down to a purely subjective analysis. So obviously a lot of the people there did take issue with like a reviewer disliking one aspect of a game and then using that to colour their score of the game. But they describe it as pushing an agenda, I describe it as having an opinion. But funny enough, so I do kind of agree with them though. Written game reviews do need to change, or could do with a change, because they are to a certain extent, can be seen to stagnate slightly. However, with them, they're saying, put more objectivity into games, make them more about the technical aspects. I say, no, make them completely the opposite of that. Make them more subjective, make them more about the personal experience, because, well, I'll get onto that again in a story. This is, compared to Alan's really quite slick PowerPoint presentation thing, there's just me rambling on the thing. So how are we going to do that beyond describing what it's like, what's going on while we play the game? That's what we have to do. We play the game, and then we tell you what we felt when we played the game. So better writing always helps. If you're a really good writer, it's great. But beyond that, it does just boil down to, I like this, or I didn't like this, this is why I did or didn't like this. That's what a game review really is. Although that is kind of the case if you restrict yourself to words alone. And I think that is, funny enough actually, to what the panel that Christos was doing kind of relates to, is that YouTube or Let's Plays are really good, because if you want to know, that's why it's so important, because what they do is they effectively give you the objective parts of the game by showing you actual gameplay. Basically, it's like an objective review but with a critic attached to it. Because you can see how it runs, you can see what the graphics are like, you can see how the gameplay is like, but then you have this person talking over it in a really subjective way, which is really nice. And that's why sort of video reviews, I think, have become more popular. You see a lot more websites now trying to do video reviews as opposed to, as well as their written reviews to try and draw in, page views and things like that. And I think it is this element that has driven this push for more objective reviews. You didn't really get this, you know, a little while ago, before actually, as Alan said, like in 1998, it was very much, you know, are the graphics good? Does it play well? 95%, whatever. But then there was a period where the more subjective reviews were good, and now there's been a push back for more objective reviews again. I think that is because the Let's Players and video reviews do fulfill that thing, but in a really subtle way. So the people who watch it, they're used to seeing actual tangible footage of the game, which answers the core kind of framework, graphics, and mechanics questions, but they forget that the words being said by the Let's Player are actually completely subjective because it's backed up by this, you know, objective material that they're basing their opinion on. And that's impossible with a written review because, you know, you're just writing words and that's how you convey the game to them. But the way the reviews are written was sort of matter of fact to the point, and they're enveloped by you know, factual information of the game, you know, who it's developed by, what platform it was played on, what platform it was bought on, the price, and everything like that. That gives an kind of implication of objectivity. I'm just doing, this is some consumer information, this is a witch guide to games. But then the actual content is very much a subjective thing. And this is why I think the ways to improve reviews is to go more become more subjective, because you can't get more objective than an actual video of the damn thing being played. That's a demo. You can't get more objective than actually playing the thing. So as I said, trying to, you know, with a review, it's trying to convey the essence of a game and all that sort of abstract stuff. So written reviews, they do have so much more they can use in order to convey a sense of the game they're playing, apart from just words. You've got grammar, layout, syntax, all the linguistic kind of gubbins that go along with writing that can, to a certain extent, be ignored. This is the point at which where people will point out all these amazing reviewers who are doing all the stuff that I'm already talking about, and I'm completely just ignorant about it. Actually, I was having a conversation earlier, which was pretty much about that, all the cool things that reviewers are doing that I was thinking about. The VG 24/7 Destiny review was also described as kind of like a written haiku for a review of a game, which is exactly what I want to happen. So great, I've read it, I'm going to. So you know, so you're writing a review for the Crypt of the Necrodancer, right? So make the review lyrical, make the review a poem. Have the structure evoke a beat in the mind of the reader while describing your thoughts, because it's a rhythm game. You know, and through your writing, try and convey the real sense of rhythm you get from playing a game like the Crypt of the Necrodancer. When you get a beat right and you're going, yes, I've got the flow going, I can win, you know, then it's that sort of thing. You want to get the beat going with what you're writing and make the reader feel the beat with you, instead of just saying, the game has really good flow and is a rhythm game, that is good. You know, or if you're reviewing a game like Spec Ops: The Line, so make the introduction normal and so confuse staccato language, put extra spaces in, like so double spacings to throw off the flow of the reader, make it in a really aggressive, offensive thing to try and read, make it a slog by the end of it, because that's how the game plays, and that means that the person who's reading your review is getting a sense of how you felt when you were playing the game, and that's effectively how that's the best way. You know, reviewing something like Super Meat Boy. So start the game. Start the review, and then start the review again, and then start the review again, and change it slightly, and keep starting the review until you do finally get to the end of it, sort of a triumphant crescendo of I've done the damn thing. Because that's what it's like to play Super Meat Boy. And ultimately, so it comes down to that. So you could even delve into realms of fiction. Like, I'd love to see a reviewer respond to a game in the form of a short story. Like, not necessarily writing as the protagonist or anything like that, sort of directly, but more abstract. Just after you've played the game, sit down for 10 minutes and write a short story based on the themes. I think games, like really, really plot-heavy games, with regards to their themes, like BioShock Infinite, is the kind of thing where you play the ending of it, and then you do have some thoughts and feelings around it, if you hated it or loved it. So write a short story and then post that as your review. You know, these are my gut reactions to the game. And yeah, this is sort of the part where I said, I also fully accept that someone's probably already done this. If you know someone who has done this, please let me know. For example, the Destiny review, I really want to read that now, because I want to see what they've done. And also, I would do away with review scores. Obviously, this is up to the editor of the thing you're writing for, but personally, I find the idea of reducing complete personal experience to be generic.
Review scores.
What is that?
I'm going to make you keep getting review scores.
Oh, no, well, in my Twine reviews, it's now abstract review scores, so but you know, having a completely personal experience reduced to a generic sliding scale is kind of utterly ridiculous. So how would you say a game like Proteus is an 8 out of 10, but Medal of Honor Warfighter is a 2 out of 10? How can you put those games on the same sliding scale? They're just completely different experiences. Yeah, so as I said at the start, I told you this is a Ramstein experience. I put my ending as my introduction, because I'm really good at this. So the whole talk was intended to be a little bit silly. I doubt the idea of writing a poem and submitting it to review will particularly catch on, although wouldn't it be a little bit really cool if it did. But I just wanted to highlight kind of how stagnant written reviews have become. And they all kind of look alike, and they all kind of formatted the same way. You go to different websites, all you see is, you see the same thing written in the same way, until you have these really interesting, different reviews. Again, going back to the Destiny review, which I've just been told about, and I really want to go read that, because that's a review that is reviewing a game in a way that reviewers don't review games. And yeah, the thing is, with game reviews, you are dealing with a medium where the main source of interaction, the only source of interaction with what you're doing is playing it. So be playful with the way you interact with that medium, because any other way is kind of really super boring. And don't be super boring, be super interesting. Anyway, that's basically my talk. So, any questions? Yes. You put your hand up first?
Yeah, so theoretically, I really like the point about how I really like the point about how games are all competing for your time. It's not even so much about money, it's competing for your time. Theoretically, with online and Gaikai, one day people will just be able to drop into a playable version of a game incredibly easily. Can you just talk a little bit about what you think the role of the reviewer is? Could you drop into a 10-minute demo of a game instantly, but then have a reviewer talking over it, like in the videos that you just described? What would be the place of a reviewer?
So that's sort of like a dev diary, but in the game. Like you have the option in Portal to have that you can walk into the little speech bubbles and have the dev tell you. That would be an interesting one. I'm not sure how you do it with sort of written reviews, unless, I don't know, you set up in a big control hub, right, because we're dealing with the future, right? And then whenever anyone logs into the game that you've currently put yourself down to review, you get a stream of what they're playing up, and then you can live tweet them. So you've got like 10 different streams, and there's things that happen. You live tweet, and you go, oh, I like that bit, oh, I didn't like that bit, oh, that bit's really difficult, you know. I love the presentation of this bit, how are you finding that bit? No, I mean, as silly as that answer was, I actually think as people become more interconnected, you could legitimately live tweet with a reviewer or have an actual chat log going, as long as you could manage your information, which would be a very interesting one. Sort of play along a critic might be an interesting one. Which pretty much comes down to sort of the live streaming with devs and critic as well, where like the Escapist, Jim Sterling started doing, Jim Interactivity, which pretty much he plays a game and he's a games reviewer, and people can chat to him in the Twitch chat, say, what do you think about this, what do you think about that, and they're kind of actively responding. So you just kind of reverse that role. So you have the sort of the pundit, I guess, playing the game, and then the critic can be on the other end of their Twitch chat, chatting to them about what they're thinking about the game, I suppose. Don't the satire answer, but it's one role. Yes?
Hey! Oh, that might be a bit loud. I just want to say thank you very much for delivering that. I've had so many ideas as a result of you kind of talking now, so I'll try and not ramble too much. So the first thing I want to say I really agree with, when you're talking about keeping reviews interesting and actually explaining why something is the case. I think the worst thing to see, as far as I can see it in the review, is someone just go, oh, the mechanics are good, full stop. There is no explanation, it's just a good thing, just take my word for it, and not going sort of why. I feel like the question should always be asking themselves, why is this good? What does it do? What effect does it have? What is the end effect of these things on the player? Just to talk about YouTubers and Let's Playing as maybe a more objective kind of review, I've got kind of 2 points on that. Actually, one of the points I disagree with, because I think, firstly, when you're playing a game to review it, it's different from just playing it yourself. You're not just kind of bumping into walls. You've had to learn how to play the game so you can demonstrate it effectively, and therefore it's not maybe as genuine an experience of somebody just picking up the game and then like going, oh, what does this button do? I've opened the menu again and again and again. And the second thing is, and I'm interested in your input on this, is I can't remember who wrote a piece on this recently, and probably somebody can shout and tell me who it is, but about the ethics of people taking money for kind of basically just promoting a game without telling anybody that they receive money to write a favourable review or to perform a favourable review on YouTube of this thing. And I think there was a lot of pushback to when I think the Yogscast announced that sort of, what is it, they would take money from people. They have like a partnership, and if you got views, they would take a cut of that. And I think that there's maybe a completely unexplored area of people taking money and not telling anybody that they actually were paid to promote the review. Sorry, that's a lot of stuff.
With the last point, it's sort of it is a really complicated issue. Like if you're a PR company, that's your profession. You are paid to promote the game. If you are a body which is not somebody who is paid to promote games, say if you're being paid to promote a game. Like obviously not qualified, but kind of informed enough to really wade in on this. But yeah, it's this whole thing about disclosure. You just say, look, I have been paid to do this, but I'm also bringing you this game. Here is the gameplay from the game. Here is my thoughts on the game. It's good. I like it. You know, as long as the audience is armed with all the information they need to make an informed decision, great. Do whatever. Because if people don't like the way that you're doing business, they will go and do it with somebody else. They won't listen to you. So yeah, as long as you're honest, like there's not really any problem, really. What was the first one? Sorry.
I was talking about playing a game to review it is not the same as playing.
Yes, that would be actually another really interesting way to interact with games. Don't play it like a reviewer, play it like you would. I think this came up at 9 Worlds, but NerdCube does a thing called NerdCube FW, which is NerdCube fucks with. He takes a game and he plays it in a way that kind of wasn't maybe intended for the developer. He sets himself stupid challenges and stuff. That's a wonderful way of giving yourself or showing people what you can do with the game. Because, as I said, the whole point of playing a game is you play with it. You don't have to do what the dev wanted you to do. It can still be a great game even if you take it. And as Crystal said with Proteus, it becomes MLG Frog Chaser Pro. That's fine. He's still playing the game. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's if he said, "I had great fun with this game. I chased frogs for days. 10 out of 10." Fine. That's his opinion. Great. He's done a review of the game. He's reviewed it. It's 10 out of 10 for him. He loved it. Someone else disagrees with him, then they can write a bloody review. That's the thing, like, there's no right way to review a game, there's no right way to play a game for review. You don't have to make sure you complete the story. Just play it for like 6 hours and say, I loved it, I want to play so much more, I want to spend my life in this game, I want to wear this game as my socks, you know, whatever. Or you say, I hate this game, I want to eat my controller instead of playing this game, I want to stamp on a brick, I don't know. Yeah, I want to do anything in my life except for playing this game, then, you know, that's it. It doesn't really matter how it is. There's no right or wrong way. But yeah, I think shall I speedy? Okay, cool. That's it. Sorry, you had a question for me. Sorry about that. But social media stuff. My name's Meredith, and I write for IndieHaven. And my Twitter is @BenRLMeredith. So if you have any more stuff, or you have any of those really interesting people writing video reviews, basically, if you can send me links and render my talk completely redundant, I will love you forever. Because if people are already writing poetry about games as a review or fiction, wonderful, I want to read it, prove me wrong, please. So yeah.